Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea here. If you have trichotillomania or you struggle with skin picking, nail biting, you have come to the right place because I struggle with all of those things. I have had trichotillomania since I was 5 years old, and I shared my story about that in previous videos, but this is something I wanted to keep talking about because I realized when I was about 11, 12, I felt really alone. I felt like I was the only person with this issue, if you want to call it an issue, or condition, I should say. I thought I was alone in this condition, and I think it would have helped a lot for me to have found someone my age or a little older online that I could have looked up to and learned from. So I'm trying to be that person for other people. So today I'm going to talk about how I grew a full set of eyelashes back in 6 weeks. For some context, I did not have eyelashes for I think about 14 years. So from the time I was about 5 or 6 years old to the time I was 20 years old, I pulled out my eyelashes regularly. I did not have eyelashes. Literally my eyelids were constantly bare because the second like an eyelash nub would grow back, I would pull it out. And there came a point in my life where I just accepted this as a fact about myself. I think I came to a point where I accepted that this was a condition I had and was living with, and that I might never have eyelashes. I think I thought for a long time that I would never be able to put on mascara, would never be able to wear makeup in the way I wanted to. I was a competition dancer, and I learned firsthand how difficult it is to put on fake eyelashes onto your eyelids when you don't have real ones to put them over top of. So needless to say, this was a very ingrained habit and struggle, and very formative in my childhood as well. I literally didn't have eyelashes for 14 years. So I'm going to tell you how I was able to grow a full set of eyelashes and keep them for 2 years now, with only, I think, 1 or 2 notable relapses. And hopefully you can learn something from this, and I hope it helps. And if it doesn't help, I hope it at least gives you hope, because I had lost all hope. I thought I was gonna live and die without eyelashes. So, okay, let's get into it. Basically, it was the fall of 2023. I was in my 3rd year of college. I think I'm getting those dates right. I was in my 3rd year of college, and I had just come back from the summer, and I also was struggling with the bald patch on top of my head. I think I talked about that in some previous videos if you want to hear more about that, and I'll continue to talk about that as well. So I didn't have eyelashes, and I was still struggling with pulling out the hair right on the top of my head, right here. And I had been thinking about how I was considering this to be just like a regular part of my life, and that it wasn't going to change. And I had reached a place in my life where I was okay if it didn't ever change, which I actually think is a key part. Is like, if you hate something about yourself, I think it's going to be harder to change it because you're too busy hating it to like love yourself through the change, if that makes sense. And so I think I'd come to a place of self-acceptance, which I think is important. But in the process of coming to a place of self-acceptance, I think I ruled out the possibility that I could still tackle this challenge. Like, I think I got so used to 14 years of not having eyelashes that I just assumed I couldn't ever grow them back, even if I wanted to. And I think one day I just woke up and I was like, maybe I can grow them back. Maybe I can really do this. So I thought about, okay, well, how do I want to go about doing this? The first thing I did is I reduced the importance of accomplishing it as a goal. I basically said, like, this is not a big deal if I fail, and I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm even trying. So I didn't tell my boyfriend at the time. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell any of my friends that I recall. I think I literally just kind of made this internal agreement with myself that, like, I'm gonna give this a shot, but it's not a big deal if it doesn't work out, because I had lived 14 years without eyelashes anyway, so it didn't really matter if I was able to succeed in it. It would just be kind of like a nice perk and something I could be proud of if I could. So then I thought about, well, how do I go about accomplishing my goals to begin with? And I thought to how I had established a really good workout routine, and I am a tracker. So at that time I was tracking water, my workouts, the calories I was eating, which I've since stopped because I realized that was not super healthy, but I digress. So I realized I'm a tracker. So I was like, okay, well, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just track how many days I can go without pulling out my eyelashes. And again, this is hard because it's a compulsion. It's not like I'm waking up every day and deciding to pull out my eyelashes. There was an element of this that was kind of mindless, and I'm sure if you have trichotillomania, you can relate to this, where I could be sitting on my bed watching Netflix and I'm just like kind of picking at my eyelids. And I think that my eyelashes especially were this area where I derived like a lot of pleasure almost from that and comfort. That like pulling out my eyelashes, there was something like comforting about that, about the ritual of that, and it was also kind of half mindless. So in the process of tracking it, I was also having to commit to myself, like, Andrea, you're going to have to pay closer attention to what you're doing with your hands. And again, I've kind of put no pressure on myself. I was like, let's just see what happens. And it was as simple as deciding to track it in my notes app, because I put everything in my notes app. So that's how I decided to track it. And I remember I got to one full day and I literally titled a notes app, Days I've Gone Without Pulling Out My Eyelashes. Also, I was not worried about my hair. I was like, forget about my hair. I was like, Andrea, you can pull out as much hair as you want. Like, we're not gonna try to kill all the birds with one stone. We're just gonna start with eyelashes. We're gonna take it one step at a time. So, and for some reason, I feel like the eyelashes were more important to me. I was like, I feel like that would be kind of like a nice like aspect of my femininity. So I got to one day, and then I remember I got to 2 weeks, and I think I was already seeing growth. And that was really encouraging because I don't know what world I'd been living in, but I think I thought that it was gonna take like months for my eyelashes to grow back. And I was also at risk because after you pull out hair for years on end, you can damage the follicle enough to where the hair will stop growing. So I was a little bit concerned that like I wouldn't even be able to grow eyelashes. Thankfully, that was not the case. I was able to grow them back. And after 2 weeks, I started to see them come in and I was like, whoa, like this is serious. And I think that stage was the hardest stage because I would feel them a lot and I wanted to pull them out, especially because they were shorter and I was used to pulling out like little like nubby eyelashes almost. So I would like feel them a bunch and just try to like let myself feel them. Also throughout this time, and I still do this, I basically gave myself permission to pull out my bottom eyelashes because I was like, what really is the most important thing? Is it to have a full set of eyelashes, or is it to have like top eyelashes that I can put mascara on? And so if you see, I don't have eyelashes on the bottoms of my eyes, but that was just kind of like the agreement I had to make with myself to get there. And I think again, that goes back to my full advice is you have to know yourself and know your habits and how can you kind of bargain with yourself and draw a balance. So that's why I let myself pull out the bottoms and let myself pull out my hair, is because I was only focusing on eyelashes. So then I think I get to around 6 weeks and I woke up one day and I was like, this is basically a full set of eyelashes. Like, this is crazy. And I remember I shed a lot of tears. I was so excited. I never realized how important it was, or like how much more feminine it made me feel. It made me feel really good. It was like this special addition to Andrea, who I had already grown to love. Like, I already loved myself without them, but I also loved myself with them. And I remember I went to a football game and my parents came, and I remember, I'll never forget walking up to my parents, and my mom could see that I had grown them from yards away. Like, I was very far away from her and she could see them, and she started crying tears of joy. She was so proud of me. And then we went to church that Sunday and my mom took me to Ulta and we bought mascara for the first time. And I cannot tell you the joy it brought me to put on mascara. I felt like there was this like, I had almost gifted myself something that I had ruled out having. And that was so beautiful because now I think something that a lot of women like take for granted, I don't. Like, every single day that I am able to put on mascara, I'm so grateful to myself. And mascara has helped me maintain my eyelashes. I don't know what it is about the texture of mascara, but I do not like to pull my eyelashes when I have mascara on. There's just something about it. My brain just like won't let me do it. Like this, there's nothing appealing to me about this. And I'm wearing mascara right now. So mascara actually became a barrier for me to pull, and it helped me maintain not pulling. And that's another thing, is that like, once you've figured out a way to grow your hair, there might be, it does become about like pattern interruption at a certain point. So like what you can do to like keep that pattern interrupted, and mascara is a surefire way for me, because the only times that I've relapsed, I was not wearing mascara. So this was my story about how I grew back eyelashes in 6 weeks. Remember, it only took 6 weeks. So like if you're drinking water, if your diet's good, and if you have hope and dedication and you know yourself and you have a good relationship to your relationship with trichotillomania, I think there's a ton of hope. Because again, I pulled out my eyelashes for 14 years and I never thought that I would be able to overcome that. And I think lowering the importance and figuring out the best way for me to go about regrowing them was vital. And I think that can be kind of applied to everyone. So if you have trichotillomania, if you're struggling with this condition, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. I still struggle with it. I'm still struggling with my hair. I'm still struggling with skin picking, and we're in this journey together. So if this video helped you, please comment. If you have any questions, please comment. If you have any thoughts, anything that's like helped you that might help me with my hair, I want to keep talking about this. So if we can make this like a group effort, that would be awesome. So again, thank you so much. I hope that this reached someone who needed it. You are loved, you are not alone. And if you feel like no one else in the world understands or cares, I promise you I do. So I hope you have a great day.